Today I'll be presenting my case study on irrigation and conservation practices in turf systems. I focused on Foxton Country Club in Knoxville, Tennessee to kind of determine how golf course superintendents balance high quality playing conditions with environmental sustainability, especially when it comes to water use and conservation. So the subject of my project is sustainable irrigation and turf systems. The main purpose of this was to examine how Foxton effectively balances turf playability with ecological turf systems. I also focused on how moisture is managed in bent grass greens and Bermuda and zoysia grass fairways and rough and tees. And these areas all have different kinds of water needs, so efficient irrigation is critical. So a little bit of background and significance to this. Golf courses use a significant amount of water, and with the climate change and more frequent droughts, especially that we see in Tennessee, it has become a very serious concern for us. Most superintendents must maintain high quality turf while also following environmental regulations and keeping the costs low for our budgets. If irrigation is handled incorrectly, it can lead to like a water waste. It can bring disease and poor turf conditions. So right here on this slide, the kind of the key takeaway is improper irrigation, and if you use too much or too little, too much can bring disease, too little can bring poor turf health. The budget is plays a big factor in our water, and if we kind of conserve it, then we can conserve our budget for other things. The three different grass types I used for this study were bent grass, which is a cool season grass, and we use that on our putting greens, and it requires higher moisture levels. I also studied Bermuda grass and zoysia grass, which are warm season grasses, and we have Bermuda on our fairways, and some of our tees are zoysia, and all of our rough is Bermuda grass besides some native fescue areas. These warm season grasses have a better drought tolerance, which is critical whenever we experience our high heat and high humidity stressful conditions during the summer. So some highlights that I came across whenever I was researching, it consistently shows that using technology like a soil moisture meter and choosing drought tolerant grasses can significantly reduce water usage. Studies also emphasize that proper irrigation reduces runoff, disease, and in the end, long-term costs. This proves that sustainable irrigation should be viewed as an investment and not just an expense for us and our budget, because everybody is limited to some type of budget, whether you're at a high-end course, a low-end course, either if you're private or public. So I used a multifaceted approach to complete the study. I conducted a kind of a literature review, doing some research, and I also did field research at Foxton by using a TDR soil moisture meter to test moisture levels. I analyzed our irrigation schedules, how many minutes, the amount of water we were using on greens, tees, and fairways. And I also interviewed our superintendent, Scott Severance, and all of this was done over kind of like a month month-long period during our peak growing season. The materials I used for this was the main one, at least for collecting data, was a TDR, or also known as a time domain reflectometer. It's just a sensor that gives you a percentage of the soil moisture in the ground. I also analyzed irrigation system data. I constantly observed our turf conditions and recorded information with pictures and just information that my superintendent gave me. So for my data collection project or process, I placed the moisture meter at different depths and locations, mainly on the bentgrass greens and Bermuda fairways, just because it was a little easier to keep track of. We have 21 greens, obviously 18 fairways, so I was able to get a good amount of data to collect. These readings were compared to current irrigation schedules and just visual turf health. The goal was to make sure the irrigation amounts matched the actual needs for the grass. So if I was getting percentages that were too high or just right enough in some places, I would make sure we would avoid watering those areas. So here are some results from the moisture levels. One major finding was that Bermuda and zoysia grass maintained healthy conditions at lower moisture rates. Bentgrass obviously required more water just because it was we were still getting some high temperatures, so they were still needing a little bit more water and still getting a little bit more stress. After adjusting the irrigation schedule based on the actual data from the moisture meter, we reduced their total water by about 20% probably, without losing turf quality. So here in this graph, you can kind of see the moisture percentages and all the 3 different turf grasses that I studied. So some results from the turf health, along with the water conservation. The turf quality actually improved just by changing around our irrigation schedule a little bit. We had a little bit better color. Our greens started growing in a little denser. We were getting a little bit better grow in from temperatures because we weren't getting those high temperatures that we were receiving during midsummer. And obviously overall plant strength, a little bit deeper roots, more fibrous roots. Scott, our superintendent, also noticed a reduction in disease and stress damage that we received over the summer months. And I did get some comments from members and golfers saying how our conditions did improve. So the impact of technology, we saw that TDR moisture meters changed everything from guessing to pinpoint precision. Instead of watering on a fixed schedule, we were able to irrigate only when the turf actually needed it. And this kind of helped us prevent overwatering, and we lowered operational costs while also helping the environment, which is huge and obviously the main reason I did this study. So this study kind of proved how important data-driven decisions are in turf management, and how we make our overall decisions. Monitoring the real-time moisture and using these drought drought-tolerant grasses like Bermuda and Zoysia. It helped us maintain turf quality while conserving vital water resources, especially during our drought season when our ponds are starting to get low. It kind of helped us with overall sustainable practices, and we kind of lowered the quality and ended up improving everything. So to conclude with this study, Fox Den it's definitely a strong example of how modern golf courses can be managed. We successfully reduced water usage while improving our turf health. Our methods can be applied to other golf courses and along with other athletic fields to improve sustainability. I think nationwide, this study definitely could be used for any manager in this specific field. Smart irrigation brings healthy turf, water conservation, and overall financial savings. So based off of my findings, I recommend expanding moisture meters across the golf courses, planting more zoysia grass in high stress areas with a little bit more shade may help, and continuing to educate our staff on sustainable practices. I think these steps will further improve efficiency and conservation. So some future research that I may do, or if anybody else, I would definitely recommend it. It could definitely explore long-term effects on irrigation changes. You can improve newer technologies and alternative turf mixtures, along with the climate adapted course design. Depending on location, how your climate is through peak stress season. And the goal is definitely to maximize sustainability for all turf systems. So thank you for listening and watching to this case study on irrigation and conservation practices.